You are listening to the Screen to Screen Selling Talk Show hosted by Doug DeVitri, your source to increasing sales, productivity, and the customer experience. In each show, we will sit down with world-class thought leaders to discuss latest trends, innovative concepts, and ideas to keep you ahead of the curve using the latest technology. Today, we have a very special show. My friend John Mayfield, who runs a virtual real estate brokerage not too far from where I live, in fact, professional speaker, traveling the globe, just got back from India. John, welcome to the show. Tell us about that trip and experience you just had.
Well, thanks, Doug. It's exciting to be on your podcast with you and exciting about your new book that's coming out, which is a timely topic and one that I know you've really spent a lot of research and time on. So I'm excited to read the book, and thanks for having me on. It was an event in India. I just got back from NAR in India. There were 2,000 realtors who were at the conference, and I was fortunate to speak to the group and bring some technology tools to the table. They are a very tech-savvy group in India, so I knew that going into the presentation. But it's always interesting for me to see what they're doing with technology and how I could show them how we're using technology from the United States. So it was a very interesting trip, and was able to visit the Cisco facility in India, their campus. They have 10,000 people who work at this campus, and I think it's either 1 million or 2 million square feet of space. But I talk about screen-to-screen selling. I mean, they had some video rooms where they're doing conferencing and working with customers and clients, and it's really, from Cisco's point of view, and the gentleman I talked to, it is the future. I mean, it's what they're doing today, but it's also the future of companies being able to work remotely all over the world with video conferencing. So it's very fascinating.
Yeah, and so you, even while I think you were on that trip, you were able to close some real estate transactions back home, right?
Well, I was able to keep up with a lot of transactions. Yes, usually when I'm traveling internationally, I use Skype or I use Google Hangouts. I actually have a GoToMeeting account, GoToWebinar account. And so I use different platforms. A lot of times people will contact me while I'm away. I was recently in France and had one of my clients, a customer, call me about a piece of property. And normally the way that works, without boring your customers, but I normally have my phones forwarded to my Google Voice when I leave the country, because you can receive incoming text messages for free. And so I receive the text message, and then I can call the person back via Skype or Google and discuss their needs. And actually had a person who had some interest in a parcel of property. I do a lot of farm transactions, and we were able to get on Skype, show him the plat. He looked at the property. My sellers lived out of state, so there was no need for me to be there, no need for the sellers to be there, and they actually liked the land. We wrote the contract up, did digital signatures, and I ordered all the paperwork and closed the transaction. Had the commission wired to my bank, and never was in the United States. So.
And it's interesting that you share that, because traditionally real estate has been a face-to-face business. Belly to belly, we're sitting in front of a buyer or seller, helping them with their needs. But from everything that you just described, your client doesn't even reside in the area that they still live in, and you're out and about.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think, to me, real estate is still very much a personal, hands-on business. But there are so many times that we can use technology and screen-to-screen selling, where we can show photographs. If it's a parcel of land, I can show the boundaries. I can show aerial photographs. And a lot of times buyers, especially in the land industry, they want to go out, spend their time walking themselves, because some people like to walk the perimeter, and they kind of feel a little bit like they're putting the real estate professional out if they want to spend several hours out there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been very beneficial for me to use technology and computer and showing properties, video. Videos are a little tough to show, but photographs and so forth. So yeah, it's changing the way we do business.
Sure. And from because you've run a real estate brokerage and have, I guess, for over 30 years now, what would you say would be some risk factors on having these types of communications, whether it's the information is confidential going across, the risk of identity theft? What do you see as a way to be able to protect not only agents in your office, but also the clients that you represent?
Well, I think that's very important thing that we have to consider and remember. And if you're transferring confidential information, you want to use. I use a company called Net Documents. So when I'm transferring documents and information, there are secured links. They expire. I can set the expiration after so many hours, 24 hours or 48 hours. And you want to remind yourself that information that you're sending out on the internet can be out there for a long, long time, sometimes forever. And so I try to use solutions and tools that I know are secure, that don't have a long shelf life, I guess we should say. And you want to make sure that, like my agents, I need to make sure that their data is protected and that they're putting the proper implementation for our security measures for their laptops or computers and so forth. And so that all gets back to your policy and procedures. But to me, and I know some people worry about technology and the internet, there is a risk, but there's no more risk than in real life of employees going in and copying files, or even consumers who might be in your office and take something. There's always going to be a risk. So we've always got to just be knowledgeable of that and make sure that we're taking the necessary precautions.
Yeah, most definitely, John. Well, you definitely have a lot of your bases covered, and it's very challenging to have such a worldwide perspective on things because it is so complicated. And I just really appreciate you giving your perspective on the show today.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you having me, and thanks so much.
You are listening to the Screen to Screen Selling Talk Show, hosted by Doug DeVitri, your source to increasing sales, productivity, and the customer experience. In each show, we will sit down with world-class thought leaders to discuss latest trends, innovative concepts, and ideas to keep you ahead of the curve using the latest technology.
Another reason to join early. Well,
if you're familiar with Google Plus, have a bit of Hangout, or even like Join.me and some of the other screen sharing things I've seen.
Oh, congratulations!